Do you allow your kids to rule the household? Do you spoil your children just to make them happy and avoid conflict? If so, you got this parenting game all wrong, my friend. And the longer children are overindulged, the worse their behaviors will become. In my view, permissive parenting does not work. On the other hand, authoritative parenting, not to be confused with an authoritarian approach to parenting, seems to be the clear winner in this battle of parenting styles. A parent being both kind and firm when disciplining children and managing their behavior and expectations has worked wonders for my children. Let's get into this. Permissive parenting is defined as a child-driven approach to parenting, where rules aren't really enforced and children are generally spoiled to avoid conflict. Give me a break with this parenting style. This parenting style is for those lazy parents out there, folks, or those people that had kids that shouldn't have had kids. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. These individuals are out there. Whenever you see a child yelling back at their parents and making demands about what they either want or what they want to do while disrespecting their parents, then chances are the parents are taking a permissive parenting style. Chances are these folks don't even realize they're doing it. And I hate to say it, but they're either cutting corners to make their lives easier, or they simply don't want to address the behavior directly because they don't feel like dealing with their children acting a fool. Also, when addressing the behavior of children, age is a huge factor. So these claims I'm making are from general observations of what I see every day. Permissive parenting is for lazy parents, in my view. These people don't really want to do the act of really parenting a child in those tough moments. To have a household where rules do not apply to the structure of the family and children are spoiled by their parents to seek approval from their children creates an environment that doesn't foster appropriate mental growth. If a child is spoiled their whole life, how will they relate to the real world into their adolescence and into their adulthood? Parents who practice permissive parenting, whether they know it or not, are shaping their young children into needy adults. The world can be a hostile place, and kids have to be trained at a young age to handle any rough waters ahead, because there will always be rough waters in the sea of life. If parents are co-captains of a ship, they need their crew to be the best they can be to navigate the rough seas ahead. Permissive parenting doesn't simply prepare kids for what life may bring. A spoiled child without limits creates a needy adult that doesn't have the skills to be the best versions of themselves. The opposite of gentle parenting is authoritative parenting, which is defined as a parent being nurturing, responsive, and supportive by explaining rules while setting limits for their children. The parents listen to their child's viewpoint, but don't always accept it. Parents need to be careful with this parenting style because there is a fine line between authoritative and authoritarian parenting. A parent who becomes an authoritarian with their kids will create a negative relationship with their children. An authoritarian method of parenting is totally parent-driven, strict rules are enforced, and there is one-way communication with little consideration of a child's emotional and behavioral needs. If a kid sees their parent as a hostile or demanding figure, that usually leads to a problem behavior due to the child being afraid of their parent. If a parent is cold and offers no explanation of why they said no to the request of their child, followed by a punishment, then that child becomes afraid of their parent, which is a relationship I definitely don't want to have with any of my kids. Kids need to learn boundaries, and fear teaches the wrong lesson when using the word no. How does a parent practice being an authoritative parent and not fall in the trap of becoming an authoritarian? The best approach by far when managing the behavior of a child is the kind but firm approach to parenting. I saw a reel from this guy on Instagram named Doc Amon. This guy nailed the best approach to parenting right on the head. He talked about being kind and firm with kids when managing their behavior. Kids need boundaries, and the best way for them to learn any kind of boundary is by a parent having a kind approach, but a firm approach when their word is spoken. If a kid does something wrong or misbehaves in any way, do you think it's best to get angry and reprimand them when you yourself are angry from their behavior? Does this really solve the problem? How does this kid feel afterward, and what did they learn? Kids are always going to have problem behaviors. Kids are always going to push the limit of what they can and can't do. The point of being a good parent is to teach them right from wrong in those moments. If a parent is angry, all the kid is going to see is their parent's anger. They aren't listening to their parents when being yelled at aggressively. They're just looking to survive in that moment. Let's put this into context. The other day, at my kids' ice skating lessons, my oldest, who is also on the spectrum, had a behavior when I asked him to help me put their equipment away after their ice skating lessons were over. I always keep an activity bin with me whenever I take my kids to their various activities. Chances are I'm going to have an additional child with me while attending these events, so my wife put together an activity bin to keep whichever kid is spectating something to do. A great piece of equipment to keep kids occupied rather than screens of any kind. Anyhow, I asked my oldest to put away his ice skates, and he wasn't having it at the moment. He then proceeded to throw an entire deck of cards on the ground, and he wasn't playing 52 card pickup. He was very angry with me. There's a big difference between a typical developing child and an autistic child having a tantrum, for those of you who don't have experience with autistic children. He was flipping out, to say the least. During his tantrum, other parents are looking at me as if I did something wrong. But I've learned to not let these situations bother me. I stayed calm, I didn't raise my voice, and I told him to pick up the cards, and I walked away. The second I didn't acknowledge the problem behavior, the behavior stopped. He was still running his mouth, and he was, huffing and puffing while cleaning up the mess. But the important thing is, he stopped and listened. If I got mad and I yelled at him and questioned, why did he do this? Why did you throw the cards on the ground? The behavior would have escalated, and it would have lasted way longer, I can guarantee you that. After he was calm, he apologized to me, and he realized that his behavior was completely unacceptable. And that's really huge for him in particular, because he struggles with communication, and, usually a lack of communication is what leads to problem behaviors. I was kind but firm at the same time. I was kind when I asked him to pick up the cards, and I was firm in the fact that if he didn't clean up his mess, then there would absolutely be consequences for his behavior. Kind but firm, authoritative parenting works. It just works, folks. Permissive parenting versus authoritative parenting. In my view, authoritative parenting always wins. When parents listen to how their children feel and they show their support, but have clear guidelines and rules for expected behavior from their children, everybody wins. Whenever I fly solo with the kids, or we're out as a family with mom, the authoritative parenting style always wins, because this parenting style creates clear expectations for our children, and eventually it turns them into well-rounded human beings. When they meet these expectations, everybody wins, and mom and I are proud of them, and they are proud of themselves. And this allows for teachable moments and positive vibes all around. The dad game earns the video game, folks. As for gaming, I'm currently playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I never played the original, as crazy as that sounds, so the entire story of Final Fantasy VII is completely new to me, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So no spoilers in the comments, please. I really enjoy the combat in this game. The mix between hack and slash combat and the ability to slow down time and call upon a heavier attack just makes the flow of combat an incredible experience. Something I did notice in this sequel is the level of detail when using access materia. Piece of advice: you need to use that materia when taking on tougher combat situations. Once the enemy is analyzed and you know how to pressure and stagger them, then you can really plan out attacks accordingly from Cloud and his friends, your other party members. The combat is extremely well done, and the level of strategy needed in various combat situations keeps the entire combat system fresh and exciting. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is now out for PlayStation 5, and I highly recommend it. On the multiplayer side of things, I've been playing Helldivers 2, which has been fantastic, and believe it or not, I'm actually getting into Fortnite. I never thought I would say it. Tons of people play it, and I figured I would jump in now because that would be a good time with the new season just starting. Of course, Halo is always on the stovetop. Right now it's on the back burner, but I gotta say, Halo Infinite is getting better by the day. So if you haven't jumped in, now is the time. If you ever want to get down with some gaming with your boy over here, my tag is Columbango. That's Columbango. And that's Columbango on all gaming platforms. Send me a message and let's dominate the battlefield. Be sure to catch my lives on TikTok throughout the week. And DMG Live is always Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. DMG Live can be found on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and now it's going to be on Instagram. Of course, if you like what you see, and I hope you do, be sure to like this podcast and be sure to share this podcast and subscribe to Dadmod Gaming on YouTube if you're new to the channel. Be sure to give a follow on Twitch and be sure to follow Dadmod Gaming on all social platforms as there's different content on each of these platforms, and I don't want you to miss a thing. Let me know what you think about my take on permissive parenting versus authoritative parenting styles and any gaming insights in the comments. Be good to each other and happy gaming.